the facility that you launched today going to help in that debate?
Well, I'm glad that you actually started with affirming and reaffirming that climate change is here with us. Definitely, and we have to ensure that we move ahead of time. So the radar that we're launching today is one of those that we're beginning to get as augmenting our systems that are there in the country. We have 14 of such good ones that are actually able to help us in the country to, by the way, relatively speaking, within the African continent, we're still #1, but we're augmenting. So that one is going to be covering the radius of close to about 200 kilometers proximity, which actually services the Northwest. But it's more importantly going to be used as an education tool for master's students at the Northwest University, those who come from the entire South Africa, to train and actually have on-the-job experience, learning going forward, not just theory, but also the fact that we actually have a partnership, which I must emphasize, that this is developed out of a partnership of private sector and government and several other institutions of research. It's actually a good thing because each one of us have actually contributed, and it stands to be bigger and bigger and actually benefit those who are in this private sector, the farming community, the entire industry. So
what of the facilities we already have
in the country
sort of done for us already, or for the debate?
We are actually able to say right now what's going to happen, what's tomorrow going to look like. For instance, the weather services, our meteorologists, our forecasters, you know, all the skills, capacities that we have here are able to tell us up to a month from now, 2 months from now, even up to 3 months. We actually now still struggling to get the longer term precipitation and projections happening. But for now, we are able to get at least a shorter time understanding and knowledge that actually help those who are in the industry and even ourselves, poorer people, to say, hang on, it's actually coming to rain very hard, move your equipments from the farming community, it's going to be flooding, and therefore you don't actually incur losses. But also to know when to plant what, when to move away from, you know, the lightning systems that are there. We're able to, there are quite several infrastructure throughout the country that deals with lightning control and so forth. In the ocean space as well, we have that kind of a radar system, the buoys that we have deployed in the oceans that actually help us to understand the changes that are occurring and therefore the necessary steps that we need to take. All these are analyzed, assimilated, and actually given as information to anybody who needs to make a decision of whatever nature.
Do we have examples of how sort of other parts, or are these sorts of facilities being used elsewhere in the world?
Yes, indeed. They are being used quite a lot of that in the European space. Very jealous about that because we take even some of the raw data here, feed into the European, particularly Europe. And then they analyze and then they bring back information.
How have these facilities then helped the Europeans? In other words, what competitive advantage do the Europeans have, that which you have come to?
Let's subtract South African facility information that's brought from here, whether it's taken from as far as Antarctica is concerned, by the way. Compare it, just take it off from that lot of what they have. They are minus South African information. It's actually back to just, you know, a small minority of information that, well, not quite small, but significant enough, but not quite adequate. So it is quite significant to have that data. Let's say, for instance, you know, with our vessel that goes to all our islands, whether it's a Go Island, whether it's Antarctica, whether it's the Edward Islands, and so forth. It's actually quite enormous information that we come carrying from there, having analyzed even the movement of animals and the whole ocean space and so forth, even on land here. The fact that we could actually predict, and in the environmental outlook reports say, many years ago, as early as about 1990s, 2000, early 2002 and so forth, released in those reports to say, South Africa, watch it. There's going to be, as we continue, climate change moving the slow onset, which are now becoming much faster than they used to be. Wetter, much more wetter in the east and much more drier in the west. So yes, people then, you know, use that information for decision making.
Minister, thanks very much for coming through.
Thank you.